Good day, class. Our lesson for today is about lesson 3, digital literacy. So, for our intended learning outcomes, we're going to differentiate media literacy, digital literacy, and information literacy. So, digital literacy is a multifaceted concept that goes beyond simply knowing how to use a computer or a smartphone. So, it is a crucial skill in today's world. It is much more than just knowing how to use technology. It is about being able to effectively and responsibly navigate, evaluate, and create content in a digital environment. So, the multifaceted concept is a cornerstone of modern life, impacting how we communicate, learn, work, and participate in society. So without digital literacy, individuals may struggle to find reliable information, protect their privacy online, or even engage in civic discourse. So for example, a digitally literate person can easily spot fake news and easily verify sources, while someone who lacks those skills might be easily misled. So as technology continues to evolve, the importance of digital literacy will only grow. It is a fundamental skill that empowers individuals to thrive in the 21st century and beyond. So we have key components of digital literacy. We have the information literacy. So the information literacy it is your ability to find, evaluate, and use digital information effectively and cite resources properly. So napaka-effective yan sa inyong mga student, especially if you're going to do your research. Next is the media literacy. It is the ability to critically analyze and responsibly create various forms of digital media. If you're onto the graphic designing or if you love creating posts in the social media, that falls under media literacy. The digital citizenship is lahat tayo. So, that is the world na iisa lang yung citizenship natin sa buong mundo. It is where everybody is is already in the cyber world. So, ang tawag sa kanila is mga digital citizenship. Next is the technical proficiency. From the word itself, technical. So, it is a foundational skills to use hardware and software effectively. Then, communication and collaboration. It is on the using of digital tools to communicate and work with others. So, let's go more deeply on what is information literacy. So, in a world where information is more accessible than ever, the ability to effectively find, evaluate, and use it is a critical skill. So, information literacy is the bedrock of critical thinking and informed decision making. It goes beyond simple search engine queries. It's about understanding the context, credibility, and purpose behind every piece of information we encounter. So, when an individual is information literate, they are equipped to sort through the overwhelming amount of data available and find what is truly relevant and reliable. So this empowers them to not only succeed academically and professionally, but also to be engaged and informed citizens in a democratic society. Let's make an example. Consider a college student na may task siya to write an essay on information communication technology or ICT. So an information literate student would approach this task methodologically. First, the student can recognize the need for the information. So the student will understand they need to find credible sources to support their arguments and avoid making factual errors. So hindi lang sila basta-basta gumagamit ng AI. So they also need some factual, 'di ba? Mga factual dapat ang ilalagay para ma-avoid nila yung pagkakaroon ng mga factual error. So they need to locate those information. So though they go beyond a simple web search and instead use their school's library database to find peer-reviewed scientific journals and reputable government reports. Or you can also use the Google Scholar. And lastly, um, no, lastly, next is that they can evaluate the information. So you need also proofreading. So as they read, they critically assess the author's credentials also. the publication dates, and any potential biases. They might compare information from multiple sources to ensure accuracy. And they need to use those information accurately, 'di ba? Kailangan accurate naman yung pagkakagamit mo ng mga ano, or you need to use those information effectively. So the student will take notes, synthesizes the information from different sources, and use it to construct a well-supported argument in their essay, properly citing all sources to give credit to the original authors. So this process demonstrates a high level of information literacy, leading to a well-researched and credible final product. So I am not discouraging you to use AI, the ChatGPT, for example. So you can also use ChatGPT. But at the end of your, when he had already given you some answer, you can use also those resources. Kasi pwede mo namang sabihin kay ChatGPT, can you also give me the resources of this study or of this essay? And ibibigay naman yun ni ChatGPT sa'yo. But you also need to use those information effectively. You also need to evaluate those information. After evaluating, you need to check or locate those information if they are really legit, if they really come from a scientific journals or reputable government reports. So we have stages. There are 5 stages of information literacy. So defining the need. So what is the need? Okay, it is the process that begins with recognizing that you need information to solve a problem or make a decision. So this involves clearly articulating what you're looking for. Next, locating information. This is the act of finding sources. Lang. Okay, let's continue. So number 3 is evaluating information. This is a critical step that involves assessing the credibility, accuracy, and relevance of the information you found. Key question is to ask are, who created this information? Is the source authoritative? Is the information up to date? Is it biased? Number 4, using information effectively. So this stage involves applying the gathered information to the task at hand in an ethical and responsible manner. So this includes proper citation to avoid plagiarism. Number 5, synthesizing and communicating. The final stage is about organizing the information and presenting it to others in a clear and logical way. So we have here an example of information literacy in action. For example, a student working on a research paper uses an academic database to find peer-reviewed journal articles rather than just relying on a general internet search. They then use a citation style like APA or MLE to correctly credit their sources. So I have four. I put 4 examples in information literacy in action. So these examples offers an examples of information literacy in action such as the student using a peer review database or a consumer checking product reviews. Next is the information literacy in the Philippines. So we have the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines or the Republic Act 8293. So the role of the intellectual property is that it is a cornerstone of information literacy, while information literacy is often viewed through the lens of finding and evaluating information. It is just as crucial to understand that ethical and legal responsibilities associated with using it. So this law provides a clear framework for respecting the work of others. Respecting the work of others. Yun yung napaka-importante. Because by protecting creators and authors, it underscores the importance of proper attribution, preventing plagiarism, and ensuring that individuals understand that information is not always free to be used without permission. Yun yung tinatawag natin that credit to the rightful owner, or we are citing the real owner of that certain study. Through that way, it teaches us a fundamental lesson that responsible use of information is not just a moral obligation but a legal one. So wala naman sigurong may gusto dito na makasuhan, 'di ba? Pag ginamit natin yung mga gawa ng kapwa natin. So for in order for us not to um, makasuhan is that we need to cite them. We need to give respect to those original owners of those properties, intellectual property. Next is the Data Privacy Act of 2012 or the RA number 10173. So this law it is an essential component of information literacy in the digital age. So as we increasingly share personal information online, especially pag nag-register tayo, nag-share na tayo ng mga information natin. So it is also a responsible to understand how to protect that data because protecting that data becomes a critical skill. So, sa tulong ng Data Privacy Act of 2012, this law underscore that being information literate isn't just about what you can access, but also about what you are responsible for protecting. The act provides a legal framework that empowers individuals to control their own information while also holding organization accountable for how they handle it. Kaya responsible din natin na i-private na lang yung mga social media accounts natin rather than putting everything, all our information in public. This promotes a culture of responsible data stewardship, which is the key pillar of digital citizenship. Next is the uh, formal integration of the K to 12 of the Commission on Higher Education and the Department of Education. Actually, this marks a significant step forward in promoting information literacy in the Philippines. This initiative acknowledges that these skills are not optional but essential for success in today's world. So by making a core subject, the government ensures that students are not only taught how to find information, but also how to critically evaluate it. Regardless of the source or format, this structured approach helps students develop critical thinking skills needed to navigate a landscape filled with misinformation and disinformation, making them more resilient to manipulation and better equipped to participate in an informed and meaningful way in society. Next is the National Library of the Philippines. Okay, so the National Library of the Philippines and the local libraries nowadays play a crucial, yet often overlooked. So their role in fostering now overlook yung role nila in fostering information literacy. Because in an age where digital information is abundant but not always reliable, libraries serve as trusted community hubs that provide access to curate to credible resources. So their significance extends beyond simply offering books. They are active learning centers that host workshops and seminars. So these programs empower individuals with the practical skills needed to navigate both physical and digital information, teaching them how to conduct effective research and differentiate between high quality, trustworthy resources and misinformation. So libraries are a vital and tangible link in the national effort to build a more informed and digitally literate citizenry. For example, merong senior citizen na gusto niyang malaman yung health condition niya. So, meron siyang narinig doon sa social media or may nabasa siya sa social media. So, without the library, umaasa lang siya kung ano yung mga nababasa niya online. So, hindi niya alam kung credible ba yung mga sources na yon. 'Di ba? Meron kasing mga social media posts or mga different health websites na potentially leading them to make poor health decisions based on inaccurate information. Pero through the use of the library, so pwede nilang i-visit yon yung mga local public library natin. So since may librarian tayo na na-train ng more, alam nila yung information literacy, They can help that certain senior citizen to find authoritative medical journals and publication. Puwede niya ring turuan yung, senior citizen na yun kung paano niya gamitin yung online database and puwede niyang ipaliwanag kung gaano kaimportante na maniwala sa mga reviewed studies, yung mga may credible health organization website, hindi kagaya ng mga nababasa or naririnig niya lang sa social media. Next is the media literacy. From the word itself, media. Okay. So, media literacy is more than just being a passive consumer of information. Tama. Kasi ang dami-dami nating nakikitang mga reposted na mga images na may mga nakalagay doon ng mga quote. Diba? So, it is about being an active and critical participant. We're in sa panahon ngayon where we are constantly bombarded with messages from social media, news outlets, and advertisement, the ability to analyze and evaluate these messages is crucial. It helps us to understand not only what is being said, but also who is saying it, why they're saying it, and what their underlying purpose or bias might be. So the critical lens allow us to form our own informed opinions and make sound decisions in our daily lives from choosing products to voting in an election. Di ba ang dami yung mga, halimbawa yung mga pamphlet na pinamudmod sa atin nung eleksyon yan. So, it is also about media literacy. Ano kaya ang purpose? Bakit nila ginawa yon? So, merong purpose. Ano yung mensahe ng pamphlet na yon? Bakit nila yun ginawa? So, there always a purpose. At merong gumagawa ng mga media na yon. Okay. So, we have here the 5 concepts of media literacy. These are the 5 core concepts that provide a framework of understanding and critically engaging with the media messages that we encountered every day. So these concepts can teach us to move beyond passive consumption and become active interpreters of information. So recognizing that all media messages are constructed means we understand that someone has deliberately created the content we see for a specific purpose. For example, nakakita ka ng prayer. So there is a certain specific purpose bakit siya gumawa ng isang media about a prayer. 'Di ba? Pwedeng yung construction niya is gumamit siya ng mga creative language with its own rules from the camera angles in a film to the front choices in an article or yung mga element, siya yung mga pumili. Furthermore, we learned that media have embedded values and points of view. So, no messages is neutral. Okay? It reflects the biases and perspective of its creators. Ginawa kasi nila yun kasi they have their own purpose. So, this is a crucial for recognizing halimbawa, propaganda and subtle influence. So, by understanding that different people experience the same media message differently, we can appreciate the diversity of interpretation and avoid making assumptions. Meron kasi yung repost lang yun. Wala ka namang pinapatamaan. Pero bakit kaya may natamaan? 'Di ba? Okay. Finally, recognizing the most media messages are organized to gain profit or power helps us identify commercial and political motivation. So behind the content we consume, this collective understanding empowers, ano kasi yan eh, some of the creators is para magkaroon sila ng more engagement. That's why they're creating mga, halimbawa, yung mga quotes, mga kasabihan, mga ganun, or yung video halimbawa ng isang nalulod na bata is kinatkat nila, ginawa nilang ilang parts para magkaroon sila ng they could gain a lot of viewers kasi nga it's all about money so they have a purpose lagi-lagi naman yan eh kagaya ng nakalagay yan all media messages are constructed media don't just happen they are created by someone with a specific purpose o di ba Ibig sabihin, yung mga influencers natin na mga yan, hindi naman sila kumukuha ng mga pictures and ina-upload lang ng walang dahilan. Siyempre, pinipili din nila. Halimbawa, maganda yung anggulo, maganda yung mga ilaw, maganda yung mga suot nilang mga kasuotan, maganda yung pagkaka-filter, di ba? Or maganda yung pinapakita ng image na yon, ng picture na yon, di ba? Pwede rin yung media messages are constructed using a creative language with its own rules. Pwede rin nating gamitin yung mga nasa Bible, di ba? Kaya sinishare-share nila. Meron pa nga yung picture ni Jesus Christ, nilalagay nila sa mga media, social media, and kailangan mo siyang i-share para magkaroon ka din ng mga blessings. So, they have their own purpose. So, iba't iba yung mga purpose kung bakit nagkakaroon ng mga napopost sa social media, di ba? So, the post carries the value that, halimbawa, media have embedded values and points of view. Number three yan, media have embedded values and points of view. So, every media message carries a perspective, whether it's an over political opinion or a subtle bias about a certain lifestyle. So, the post carries the value that a particular body type is ideal and that health is achieved through a specific brand of supplements and works out. Yung halimbawa. So, this is their point of view and it may not be applicable or healthy for everyone. Yung mga nagtitinda, halimbawa, nagpapakita sila ng magandang katawan. Ayan. Eto, gamitin mo, ininom ko lang to ng 7 days, pumayat na ako, 7 days, kumanda na yung balat ko, yung mga ganon. Number 4, different people experience the same media message differently. O, diba? Kaya ng sinabi ko kanina, pwedeng yung message mo na yon is nararamdaman mo nung panahon na yon, shinare mo lang siya, and may kapitbahay ka na tamaan na hindi mo naman talaga intended na tamaan siya pero nasaktan siya. Mayat maya na lang, sinachat ka na, ano yung message mo, para sa akin ba yun? No? Diba? Eh, wala ka namang pinapatama ang tao. Next is most media messages are organized to gain profit and or power. Kagaya nga ng sinabi ko kanina, yung mga influencers natin, yung mga vloggers natin, okay, gumagawa sila ng mga media. The media kasi it comprises of the video, of the pictures, of the images, lahat ng mga all about media na ginagawa nila para makagain sila ng more money, 'di ba? Mas maraming followers, mas maraming money, pwede silang magbenta doon ng mga sponsored product or services kahit sabihin nila hindi naman nila ginagamit. Pwede nila sabihin na eto gamitin ninyo para nakaganda ng balat ko, nakapagpabata sa akin, so maiksi ako, yung gano'n. So we have here some example of media literacy in action. So these examples provides um, it is all about recognizing a digitally altered beauty ad or identifying logical fallacies in a political debate. Okay, yan yung mga nandyan. Kasi ito, beauty ad on a social media, di ba? That and recognizes that the image has been digitally altered to present an unrealistic ideal. This person understands the commercial purpose behind the ad. So alam niyo na may marami talagang mga gumagamit ng yung ginagamit nilang mga artista para the image has been digitally altered, sabi niya. Someone reads a headline online and before sharing it, checks if the information is also reported by several. Ito yung you need to verify information. Halimbawa, may mga bagyo, may mga gano'n, naglalagay sila, walang pasok. You need to verify. Hindi yung nabasa mo na, natulog ka na. Yung pala, fake news pala yun. Pagising mo, ay, may pasok pala, na-absent ka na. Okay. Next, we have also some media literacy in the Philippines Laws and Initiative. So, the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So, or RA 10175. So, it is a critical piece of legislation that intersects directly with the practice of media literacy. So, while the law has been the subject of debate, it serves as a powerful reminder that our actions in the digital world have real world consequences. So, may mga consequences yung mga ginagawa natin in the real world. So, pag ikaw ay isang media literate na individual, naiintindihan mo yung freedom to create and share content comes with a responsibility to do so ethically and legally. So, um, itong batas na to, ina-highlight niya yung the importance of not only being able to critically evaluate information from others, but also being mindful of the accuracy and truthfulness of the content we ourselves create and disseminate. So, wag tayong basta-basta na mag-share ng mga fake news. It reinforces the idea that spreading false or malicious information even online is not without legal ramifications. Sorry, yung maingay, may baby kasi dito sa kwarto. Okay, the Department of Education, ayan, yung integration of the K to 12 and the Commission of Higher Education. So, ibig sabihin is that um, it is an approach na essential for building a more informed and discerning citizenry from the ground up na ini-equip nila yung mga future generations natin na gumamit ng mga tools to combat misinformation and participate responsibly in the digital age. Ibig sabihin, they spread awareness or they're teaching students to be, sinali na nila itong all about, kagaya ito, yung subject natin, living in the IT era, for the students to be well aware and well informed to what is happening, what are the do's and don'ts in the social media or in the cyber world. Okay. Though we also have the DICT or the Department of Information and Communication Technology. So sila yung mga nagbibigay ng nag-share ng more information kasi marami kasi silang mga webinars, trainings, and seminars. So etong DICT and other government agencies, they play a crucial role in bringing media and information literacy from the classroom into the real world. So, ini-encourage nila lagi yung mga schools na they need to tie up with the Department of Information and Communication Technology para makapag-share sila ng mga public campaigns, mga training program. They also provide practical application kasi they really target specific demographics such as students, senior citizens, and even the government employees para ma-address nila yung mga unique challenges and vulnerabilities each group faces in the digital landscape. So, through the DICT, wait nga lang, ano ba yung nag-a-alarm? Oh, ikaw nga. Okay, they provide, the DICT provide tangible, actionable skills like, halimbawa, how to spot fake news. Kagaya kanina, I also join AI. Okay, nag-join ako ng how to use AI ethically. So, through the initiative of DICT, the yung mga tao is yung mga students or government employees, they become equipped and well informed to what is happening in the social world. Next is the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 or the RA 10175. So this is a critical piece of legislation that directly intersects with media literacy. Okay, so the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012, it actually directly intersect with media literacy. So while the law has been the subject of debate, it serves as a powerful reminder that our actions in the digital world have real-world consequences. So ibig sabihin, kailangan maingat din tayo kung ano man yung mga pinopost natin in the digital world. Kasi it could affect our real world life, yung totoong buhay natin na sa labas ng social media na yan. A media literate individual understands that the freedom to create and share content comes with a responsibility and kailangan natin itong gawin ethically and legally. This law highlights the importance of for not only being able to critically evaluate information from others, but also being mindful of the accuracy and truthfulness of the accuracy or the truthfulness of the content we ourselves create and disseminate. It reinforces the idea that spreading false or malicious information, even online, is not without legal ramification. Di ba? kahit naman sa totoong buhay, yung pagkukwento ng mga falsification, di ba? Yung mga hindi totoong kwento, pagchichismis is pwede kang makasuhan kung naglalabas ka o nagkikwento ka ng mga maling impormasyon sa kapwa mo, pwede ka pa rin naman nilang kasuhan. What more kung ginawa mo yun sa social media? Mas maraming evidence na pwedeng makuha. Next is digital citizenship. Okay. Ito yung citizenship na buong mundo. This is the one citizenship na lahat tayo sa buong mundo ay nagiging isa. Kung meron Filipino citizenship, merong American, may US, may Korean, di ba? Ito, digital citizenship, buong mundo na to. Bakit? Kasi tayo yung mga digital citizen. Lahat tayo na gumagamit ng mga technology. Okay. So the digital citizenship is the set of skills and principles that guide an individual responsible, ethical, and safe use of technology. So it is a concept that goes beyond more technical proficiency, focusing on human elements of our online interactions. So being a good digital citizen means being a positive and engaged member of the online community. So this includes understanding the impact of words and of our words and our action. So we need also to respect other privacy and intellectual property and contributing to a safe and inclusive digital environment. So it is the framework that allow us to harness the power of technology for good and for fostering a constructive communication and collaboration while mitigating risk like cyberbullying and misinformation. Kailangan maging ethical naman yung paggamit natin ng mga tools natin or ng technology natin. Isipin natin lagi na behind that cell phone is still a human being. Kaya we need to be aware of what we post and what we share online. Sabi nga nila, you need to always think before you click. So we have those concepts of digital citizenship, digital access. So everyone should have equal access to technology and the internet regardless of their socio-economic status or location. Addressing the digital divide is a core part of digital citizenship. One of that is yung nilagay ni President Bongbong Marcos na Starlink, 'di ba? So it really address the digital divide. Ibig sabihin na kahit na nasa liblib na sila na parte ng Pilipinas, is they still have that digital access. Digital commerce, understanding how to conduct secure and ethical transaction online, recognizing the dangers of scams and respecting intellectual property. So, this is all about commerce. Yung mga online selling, halimbawa ng Shopee, ng TikTok, ng Lazada. So, it is also paano nagse-secure, they conduct secure and ethical transaction. So, titignan din natin, kailangan tayong mamili ng mga shop. Kasi may tinitingnan natin yung mga reviews, mga feedback, mga ganon. And digital communication. Communicating effectively and respectfully in various online formats such as email, social media, and forums. So it includes understanding digital etiquette or netiquette and avoiding harmful behavior like cyberbullying. So when we are using our social media, we need to kailangan dala-dala pa rin natin yung netiquette. Like for example, don't just type uppercase. It is mean shouting. Okay. Don't just put any emojis without thinking what type of emojis are that. Kasi it means sarcasm. Or you need also to proofread what you are sending. Especially, kailangan maglagay ka din ng mga comma. Kasi ito yung nagiging root ng misunderstanding. Digital literacy. It is the ability to find, evaluate, and use digital information and create new content. So this includes critical thinking to discern misinformation from credible sources. Okay, yung paggamit natin, di ba? Paghanap, pag-evaluate, paggamit natin ng mga digital information. And then the digital etiquette, sabi ko nga, there's a standard of conduct for appropriate behavior online. Kailangan is maging polite tayo, maging considerate, at lagi nating isipin na behind that screen is still a real person na may puso't damdamin na pwedeng masaktan. Digital law, it is abiding the law, the legal rights and restriction governing technology use, such as copyright, piracy, and cybercrime laws. Digital rights and responsibilities. It is all about recognizing the fundamental rights to privacy and freedom of speech online, as well as the responsibility to protect one's own information and respect the rights of others. Digital health and wellness. Being aware of the physical and psychological effect of technology, such as screen addiction, eye strain, and balancing online and offline life. Yung screen addiction, yan. How many hours na nakababad yung mata nyo sa cellphone nyo? Okay. Eye strain, pag bagong gising, as much as possible, um, binibigyan muna natin ng ilang minutes yung mata natin bago natin tinitignan yung phone natin. And we also need to balance online and offline life. Digital security, taking measures to protect personal information and devices from threats like viruses, hacking, and identity theft. So don't just click on any link na pinapadala ng kahit kasino, especially sa mga um, yung sinesend sa atin sa text, mga ganon. Don't just click and click without even um, analyzing or tinitingnan natin are those legit kasi pwedeng those will be prone from hacking or viruses or identity theft. Okay. So, examples of digital citizenship, kailangan, we need to think critically. Okay. It evaluates multiple sources, checking for credibility by looking at the author, publication date, and website domain. So, huwag kayong basta-basta na nangihingi kay ChatGPT kahit na may sources siya. Kailangan nyo pa rin siyang hanapin. Tingnan pa rin ninyo kung tama ba yung binigay ni ChatGPT na na sinite na ba talaga yung totoong study. Okay. Respecting intellectual property rights, property. So, the property cite their resources. Kailangan sinasite natin yung mga study na gawa ng ibang tao para ma-avoid yung plagiarism and to respect the copyright of the original creator. Halimbawa, may original creator sa isang image and you reposted that, sabihin mo doon credit to the rightful owner. Halimbawa, gumamit ka ng mga songs. Okay, kailangan mo pa rin i-cite yung may-ari ng totoong may-ari ng kantang yon. Positive contribution, so digital communication. They may contribute to an online collaborative platform like a wiki or shared document by adding well-researched information in engaging in respectful discussion with their peers. Okay, especially in the Wikipedia. Di ba ang Wikipedia, anyone could edit that. But once you edit that, make sure also that whatever you're adding in that shared document are well-researched information. Hindi yung maglalagay ka doon ng mga misinformation kasi maaaring gamitin yun ng mga students. Protecting privacy. So, to avoid sharing personal information such as their full name or address in public forum or an unsecured website. So, pwede nating i-private yung mga information natin para maprotektahan natin yung privacy natin. Kailangan maging cautious tayo kung ano man yung mga sinishare natin online. So, together, these actions demonstrate a comprehensive and responsible approach in using technology. So, may mga laws din tayo sa Philippines. Okay, yung Cybercrime Prevention Act, na-discuss ko na yan kanina. Even the Data Privacy Act of 2012. The Intellectual Property Code also is na-discuss ko na rin yan. Ito yung pagre-respeto natin sa mga may-ari, totoong creators, kasi karapatan nila yon. Pagka-cover ng yung copyright nila, trademarks and patent. So, by understanding this law, individuals learn to combat digital privacy and ensure that they are using the content ethically and legally. Next is the government initiative. So, may mga government initiatives, free Wi-Fi for all programs. Okay. So, may mga areas na ng mga public spaces natin na nagkakaroon ng mga free Wi-Fi. It bridges the digital divide and enabling greater digital access. For example, in Santa Cruz, the municipality of Santa Cruz, wherein all the barangays in the municipality of Santa Cruz nilagyan ng free Wi-Fi access. And meron na ring mga technology building na nilagyan ni Mayor ng mga system unit and free ng mga printers para magamit ng mga students. Para may gamit na naman yung free wifi na binigay ng gobyerno natin. Okay, the Tech for Ed is a project of the DICT. Okay, this project established an e-learning centers nationwide to provide digital literacy training, especially in underserved areas. So it teaches citizens how to use digital tools for education, job seeking, and entrepreneurs. Next is the eGov Super App. So, ang eGov Super App, napakaganda nito kasi ito, nung nilaunch ito, nakalagay ito, this mobile application to centralize and streamline access to various government services. So, by promoting the use of secure one-stop platform, it encourage and safe digital engagement with government processes like the Digital Senior Citizens ID. Actually, nung ginamit ko tong eGov na to, yung mga IDs ko na na-process sa government, for example, is yung OWA ID ko nung 2013, yung aking PhilHealth, PhilHealth ID ko, yung national ID ko, is makikita mo doon yung digital copy. So, lahat ng mga agencies na na-applyan mo ng mga IDs is mag-a-appear doon as long as you verified your account. You really put your real name, your address, your birthday, your cell phone number, you put your digital signature and your picture. Next is the technical proficiency. Okay, from the word itself, technical. So it refers to the specific hands-on skills needed to perform a task. Unlike broad social skills, these are the hard skills that can be taught and measured like coding or using specialized software. They are crucial in almost every field from IT to healthcare. For example, a graphic designer is a great example of a strong with a strong technical proficiency. So, kung wala siyang technical proficiency, mahihirapan siyang mag-create ng mga new ideas, di ba? Hindi siya makakagawa ng professional output or mahihirapan siyang gamitin yung mga Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator kung wala siyang technical proficiency. Pero kung meron siyang technical proficiency, they can master this software tools, then they know how to use layers, vectors, and different file formats to create high-quality images and layouts for a client demonstrating the practical application of their hard skill. Next is, in a modern workforce, technical proficiency is critical for both individual career and growth and a country's economic competitiveness. So the rapid pace of technological change means that technical skills can quickly become obsolete, necessitating a culture of lifelong learning. For instance, in the field of data analytics, technical proficiency isn't just knowing how to use Microsoft Excel. It involves a deeper understanding of tools and techniques like programming language. Diba? Using Python or R to clean, process, and analyze large data sets. Okay, so kung malaki yung data sets mo, pwede mong gamitin yung Python. Okay, database management, expertise in SQL to query and manage data from relational database. Data visualization. So proficiency with software like Tableau or Power BI to create insightful and easy to understand reports. So ito yung mga very technical. If you are technical proficient, di ba? Ito kasi is very needed sa mga trabaho din, di ba? Magkakaroon ka ng quantifiable, kailangan mo ng quantifiable and kailangan mo ng mag-training ng mga ganito. Kasi maganda talaga to sa modern workforce. Especially these skills are crucial for both individual career growth and our country's economy competitiveness, and they require continuous learning due to rapid technological change. Yes, ang bilis magbago ng teknolohiya natin. Pero kung dati is Excel lang yung ginagamit, ngayon is marami na silang mga tools mga advanced tools na pwedeng gamitin. Um, Gaya ng Ayan nga, yung mga programming languages ng Python or R. Kasi it analyze massive datasets. It manage information with SQL and create complex visualization using those mga Tableau or Power BI. So it allows them to uncover deeper insights and contribute more to a company's success, demonstrating that their skills go far beyond basic spreadsheet software. Okay, may mga batas din na dito sa Pilipinas, halimbawa is the RA 7796 or the Technical Education and Skills and Development Act of 1994 and the Republic Act 11927 or the Philippine Digital Workforce Competitiveness Act. So these are two pieces of legislation that directly address the need for technical proficiency in the Philippines. It was created na, halimbawa, itong technical RA 97796, it is created for TESDA, di ba? Yung TESDA, it is a government or it is an agency responsible for providing relevant and high quality vocational training. Ano naman, yung 11927, it build this para to focusing specifically on the shift to a digital economy. This law, it mandates the government to enhance the digital skills of the workforce to keep up with global standards, di ba? Kasi syempre kailangan sumasabay din yung mga gobyerno natin sa pagbilis ng pagbabago ng teknolohiya natin. Hindi sila pwedeng mapag-iwanan. Hindi pwede na computer na tayo samantalang sila typewriter pa rin. So together with this law, it forms a comprehensive strategy for developing skill and for a competitive workforce. Next is yung mga test the training. Ayan, nasabi ko na kanina. Ito, DICT Sparks Program. Okay, this is very nice. So, yung mga program ng DICT. Kasi the DICT focuses specifically on high-demand digital skills. Halimbawa ng mga data analytics, mga virtual assistant. Yan, naka-join na ako yan, virtual assistant. So, particularly for those in underserved communities. So, these programs work together to not only provide foundational technical skills but also to address the growing demand for digital competencies, creating a more skilled and competitive workforce ready for the digital economy. Okay, we have also here the Digital Transformation Center. So it is established by also by the DICT. So the key component of the DTC is the key component is yung strategy nila is to foster digital citizenship. So itong mga centers na to, these centers are more than just internet cafes. They serve as critical hubs for digital literacy and technical skills training, especially in areas with limited access to technology. So by providing free internet, co-working spaces, structured training program. So the DTCs actively work to bridge the digital divide. So they empower the communities with the practical skills needed to use technology for education, employment, and communication, making the abstract concept of digital citizenship a tangible reality for those who need it most. Lastly is the communication and collaboration. From the word itself, communication and collaboration are two fundamental interconnected skills in both professional and personal life. Di ba? So, yung communication, it is the process of conveying information and ideas. Habang ang collaboration naman is the act of working together to achieve a shared goal. So, communication is the foundation of collaboration. So, without it, kung walang communication, di ba, sa isang collaboration, a group cannot function effectively. It ensures everyone understand their roles and can share progress or challenges. So collaboration is also the direct outcome of a successful communication where ideas are exchanged and problems are solved as a team. Okay. We have some policies and laws. Okay, Cybercrime Prevention Act, nabanggit na yan kanina. Data Privacy Act of 2012. Next is the e-Government Master Plan or the e-Gov Super App. TESDA and DepEd programs. It is the collaboration of the DepEd and TESDA program. They integrate communication and teamwork into their curricula by emphasizing group projects and presentation. So they are preparing students for the demands of the modern workforce, where these soft skills are highly valued. So this formal training helps students learn to collaborate effectively and communicate clearly, which are essential skills for professional skills. So for the summary, so the core literacies, the digital literacy is the ability to effectively and responsibly navigate, evaluate, and create information in a digital environment. While information literacy is the ability to recognize a need for information, then to locate, evaluate, and use it effectively. Media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and create various forms of media. We also have some different laws and policies. For example, the RA 8293, it protects creators' rights, including copyright, which is crucial for ethical online behavior. The Cybercrime Prevention Act or the RA 10175, it addresses online offenses like cyber libel, promoting responsible communication. Then the Data Privacy Act or the RA 10173, it protects personal information and ensures consent is obtained for data handling. We also have the Philippine Digital Workforce Competitiveness Act or the RA 11927, the TESDA Act RA 7796, which aim to enhance the workforce's digital and technical skills. The government initiatives like the Department of Education, the Commissioner of Higher Education, they have integrated media and information literacy. So the Department of Information and Communication Technology, it leads various programs like the free Wi-Fi for all the program and Tech for Ed. And they also have developed the eGov App Super App, eGov PH Super App, which aim to bridge the digital divide and promote digital citizenship and literacy. So the National Library of the Philippines and local libraries, they provide access to reliable information and host training on effective research. So we have also some key skills and concepts like the digital citizenship. It is the set of skills and principles for safe, ethical, and responsible technology use. It includes aspects like digital law, etiquette, and security. While the technical proficiency, it refers to the specific hard skills needed to perform a job, such as programming and data analysis. While lastly, the communication and collaboration are fundamental skills, with communication being the foundation for successful teamwork in both digital and physical spaces. So for the references, these are my references for the presentation. So if you have any more questions, you may send the question in our GC. Doon na lang kayo magpadala ng mga question kung may mga katanungan pa kayo. So, have a blessed afternoon or a blessed day, everyone. Bye!